Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Lincolnshire series, a district of 56 parishes in the north of Lincolnshire. Let's see which one we're visiting today. Welcome back to North Lincolnshire, everybody. Today it is -2 out here. I must be mental, but at least I'm in a place where if it gets too cold I can nip into a shop or two. We're in a town, and a very nice town at that. Here we go. This is the edge of the town centre. I'm currently on a road called Glanford Road, and that used to be part of this place's name. It used to be called Glanford Brigg, but these days it's just called Brigg. This North Lincolnshire episode is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find her link in the description. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Graham, near Curtin in Lindsay. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to Brigg, a market town which lies at the junction of the River Ancholme and East to West transport routes across northern Lincolnshire. Brigg used to be an important local town and used to be referred to by its full name, Glanford Brigg. Officially that still is its name, but these days everyone knows it as just Brigg. The origin of the town's name is somewhat unclear. There are theories about the Glan part of the name, but ford refers to an actual ford across the River Ancholme. When a bridge was built over the river, it became Glanford Bridge. Over time, that became Glanford Brigg, and eventually Glanford was dropped. Brigg originally sat at the meeting point of 4 parishes: Broughton, Kettleby, Scawby and Wrawby, although it lay mainly in Wrawby and was officially regarded as part of that village. Even today, Wrawby and Brigg are inextricably linked. The town was substantially improved and rebuilt in the late 1700s and early 1800s, thanks to the Elwes family, the largest landowners here. For centuries, Brigg was a small fishing hamlet. It grew quickly in the 19th century and was soon a thriving inland port, dealing with thousands of ships every year. There's a lot here, so let's get walking and see what we can find. Our walk begins at Monument Roundabout on the A18, named as such thanks to Brigg's huge war memorial which overlooks it. It was built in 1919 by Joseph Thelwis. It's a tall square column topped with a symbolic torch and flanked by lions, one of the most impressive memorials we've ever seen. It's one of the biggest too in terms of how many men it commemorates. There are a total of 142 names on this, 105 lost in World War I and 37 from World War II. Let's walk up the A18 now towards Wrawby. On the left we pass Health Place, Keep this in mind, there's a special section about this area coming later. Then we've got Belden House. This is a private Georgian home which has been turned into a boutique guest house. It can accommodate up to 26 people. And right next door is Orchard Court Care Home, which is owned and managed by Jasmine Healthcare. According to its website, it's considered excellent. Now, one thing Brigg is definitely not short of is a school or two, and there's a very notable school here in the town, and it's over there. That is the school founded by Sir John Nelthorpe. This is part of Sir John Nelthorpe School, a secondary school and sixth form located on both Grammar School Road and Wrawby Road. The present school was established in 1976, but it has a timeline through earlier schools all the way back to the one established by Sir John Nelthorpe in 1669. It was originally formed as a grammar school, hence the road name. This part, the modern lower school, was originally Brigg Girls' High School. Over the road is the main cemetery in the town. You might remember that this had a brief mention in the Wrawby episode. This was established in 1857. At that time, Brigg and Wrawby were in the same ecclesiastical parish. It wasn't until 1872 when the town was finally separated from Wrawby. As such, a lot of Wrawby natives are buried in this cemetery. At 4 acres big, this is a considerable size, and it originally had 2 mortuary chapels. It was only a fleeting visit into this cemetery. It's quite a large one. It goes a long way back. It's the sort of cemetery which Nikki would be right at home in, making one of her cemetery videos. But we're not spending too long here. Now we're going to go over the road where there's a sports area and the home of Brigg Town Football Club. This is Brigg Recreation Ground, which provides an area for sports. Interestingly, one of the theories around the name Glanford revolves around sports. That's because it's possibly derived from the Old English gleam, meaning joy or revelry, and thus the full word is interpreted as ford where sports are held. Of course, Brigg also has the Ancholme Leisure Centre at its disposal, as well as this on the A18, but we learned last year that's technically in Scawby. At the back of this sports area you'll find Brigg Town Football Club, currently members of the Northern Counties East League Division 1. This, their home ground since 1959, is called the Hawthorns. They were established in 1864, making them one of the oldest football clubs in the world. Thanks to their black and white striped kit, Brigg Town are known as the Zebras. The club's record attendance of 2000 was set in 1953 against Boston United. I've got the utmost respect for ground staff in these conditions in the winter, because at the moment Brigg Town's football pitch will be frozen and it probably won't see any action for a while. But of course these pitches in the winter, they wouldn't be what they are without the groundspeople. So yeah, it'll be a miracle if Brigg play another match in this cold snap, but you never know, you never know. Speaking of frozen ground, here's some more. I'm walking across this park now towards a housing estate. This is the frosty looking Woodbine Park, which separates the Hawthorns from a housing estate at the northernmost point of our route. We emerge from that estate on Grammar School Road, where there's 2 more schools to see. This is St Mary's Catholic Primary Voluntary Academy. And next to this is the Vale Academy, formerly known as the Vale of Ancholme School. I would imagine a lot of people watching this will be familiar with this very school. The school was previously a secondary modern. It became a comprehensive in 1976 and then a music and technology college in 2007. Brigg's 2 schools collaborate to provide further education for post-16 pupils, although some local students still choose to attend colleges in nearby Scunthorpe. Grammar School Road is generally residential otherwise, but there is a chippy called the Garden. I wouldn't have minded this being open so that I could warm up. Okay, so now we've turned right off Grammar School Road and we're on Redcombe Avenue, and this runs into a footpath which will take us towards the River Ancholme. But which River Ancholme? Stick with me and find out. The building you see before you here is a carers support centre. My bad, by the way, this is Redcombe Lane, not Avenue, but all roads lead to Rome. Or in this case, they lead to a footpath which in turn leads to the Atherton Way industrial estate on the banks of the River Ancholme. Work-wise, a significant number of Briggs residents commute to work in Scunthorpe and Grimsby, although the town is not defined as being dormitory. The path brings us to the River Ancholme, but this is the first time we've seen this part of it. We're used to seeing the new River Ancholme, which is a long straight channel, one of many dating from between the 1630s and the 1820s, which transformed the whole of the Ancholme Valley into arable land. Here in Brigg, the old course of the river can still be seen, and this is it. Part of its western bank is cut off from the rest by the new river, forming Carr Island. And apparently you can fish on the old River Ancholme as well, according to this sign here. Private fishing, day tickets available, Scunthorpe Amalgamated Anglers. So if you like your angling, come down here. Seems like a nice, quiet, peaceful spot. And also, the old River Ancholme is crossed by the A18. This also crosses the new River Ancholme, as we already know from the Scawby and the Broughton episodes. So I'm going to go up onto that bridge now via Liddell's, which is over there, and head on to Carr Island. These days you can cross the Ancholme using bridges. Local law has it in the days of the river ford, a man named Glams charged a toll for crossing the river. That's another theory behind the name Glanford. Anyway, folklore aside, we're now on Carr Island and we're looking here at Peacock and Binnington. Based on the site of an old foundry, you might well recognise the name Peacock and Binnington if you're a regular watcher of the West Lindsey series. They're one of the premier agricultural machinery dealers in Lincolnshire and Yorkshire, and their Brigg depot is their original base. They were founded in 1894 by Henry Peacock, a man who was probably as well travelled as me, because he claimed to have visited practically every farm in Lincolnshire. Of course, there's more to Carr Island than this, but we don't have all day to explore it. Instead, we're heading for the town centre next. And just before we do go into the town centre, I've left a card here on Brigg Town Council's notice board. The second one I've seen actually on this route, but I've opted for this one because it's right on the edge of the main street through the town. Okay, let's carry on walking and see what's in the town centre next. There's a good run of pubs on Bridge Street. First up is the Yarborough Hunt, which was formerly the tap for the attached Sergeant's Brigg Brewery, which has now been demolished. Then we have the White Hart, which is a coaching inn that dates back to 1749 according to its sign. The characterful properties are certainly coming now. Then we cross the old River Ancholme again on the County Bridge, which was built in 1828. Traffic used to cross this bridge on the regular. That was until the A18 was rerouted in the early 1990s. Lots of industrial buildings used to line the riverbank here. In a moment, we'll talk about one in particular. After crossing the bridge, you might think you've been transported into Emmerdale because here's another pub, this time named the Woolpack. You're actually in the marketplace, which is dominated by a former coaching inn called the Angel, seen on the right here. It's the base of Brigg Town Council. Now, the way I've planned this route is that we'll be coming back to this point later, to this very ornate bandstand which stands in front of the Angel, which has got Briggs Library apparently, according to that sign in the window. So later on we'll be coming down this street here and then going back down that street there, which will take us back to sort of where we started. For now, I'm turning around here and heading up a little footpath alongside the Ancholme again, which will take us towards Tesco. Here's a B&M store. Uninteresting, you might think, but once upon a time, this area used to be dominated by Spring's Jam Factory, which closed in the 1970s. B&M was originally a William Jackson Grandways store, erected on part of the site during the 1980s. Here's Tesco, almost right next door. If you walk through Tesco, you're back to the A18. There's two churches on this stretch, literally either side of the law. The first is St Mary's Catholic Church. Here's the Law, Brigg Police Station, which opened in 1978, replacing the town's original Victorian one on Wrawby Street next to the old courthouse. The second of the two churches is Briggs Methodist Church, very much active and open for worship at 10:30 AM every Sunday morning. And opposite that is the Old Courts Veterinary Centre, originally known locally as Birtwistle Bar and Wilson during the 1970s and 1980s. And behind the Old Courts Vets, you've got Briggs main car park. It's a good one, decent size. You can get to all the town centre amenities from it dead easy. Used it before. Now I was going to quickly cover what's on this corner. We've got the fire station here. On the other side of the road, we've got a dental surgery. There's also a little recycling point here. I think it's something to do with the the firefighters charity. And we're heading down now into Briggs main shopping street, Wrawby Street. Let's go and check it out. This is the White Horse, a Wetherspoons which started life as a farmhouse. There used to be a field adjacent to this that held travelling fairs and circuses. There's no fields in this part of Brigg now. Wrawby Street is lined with all kinds of shops, ranging from chain stores to independent retailers. In fact, many of the businesses are independent, retaining the character of the traditional high street. There's also a general market here on Thursdays and Saturdays. In addition, Brigg also holds a farmers market on the fourth Saturday of every month, selling local produce ranging from organic vegetables to ostrich meat. Both the marketplace and Wrawby Street were pedestrianised in the early 1990s. A significant number of buildings in the town centre date to the late 1700s or early 1800s, and they're all listed, with the town as a whole designated as a conservation area. It's a nice little town centre all in all. It's definitely starting to get a little bit more busy now. There's people around now, so yeah, I'm gonna move away from Wrawby Street before it becomes a little bit too crowded. It's one of those streets that you don't really know what to film, really, because there's so much on it. You don't know what to leave out and what to not. Anyway, we've come back into the marketplace now, where we find Briggs Christmas tree, because it's still before Christmas as this one is being recorded. Oh, that's quite nice, doesn't it? There's a phone box in the corner. We'll check that out next. The phone box is not much to write home about, other than the fact that it has a working phone. However, the pillar box next to it is from the time of George V. Opposite is the Buttercross, which many know as Brigg Town Hall. This was built in 1817 after being commissioned by Sir Henry Nelthorpe and Robert Carey Elwes. In the adjoining square is an old bell from its clock tower. This was restored by the local Rotary Club and placed here in front of the building in 2005. Around the Buttercross now we have Bigby Street. Here's yet another pub, this time the Dying Gladiator. Not short of pubs this place, is it? The imposing tower of Briggs Anglican Church looms over us at this point. This is the Church of St John the Evangelist, built in 1843. It's built in the Gothic Revival style, which was popular at that time. Curiously, its stone was carved into the shape of bricks before being laid in courses. And on the religious building theme, this house here is the Manor House Convent according to its plaque on the wall. There you go. Right, let's continue. I need to hop up a side street in a moment and then turn back on myself and head for the train station. This next section is a little more on the mundane side compared to where we've just been. This is Garden Street, almost like a quiet side street. There's not much on it, but this house caught my eye. This is the house named for. Nothing about this out there, unsurprisingly, but it's still quite a quirky property, isn't it? Now we're on Queen Street, where the local shops continue, and if you head towards Bigby Road, like we're about to, you'll find the local postie. In fact, a few of them. This is Brigg's Royal Mail sorting office. Crazily, this isn't a listed building, even though it dates from the 1930s and reflects the architecture of that period. I always think sorting offices are quite majestic buildings that do get overlooked. Where would the country be, after all, without a postal service? After crossing over Bigby Road, we're on Station Road, and this is Hewson House, North Lincolnshire District Council's Brigg offices. So here we are then at Brigg railway station. We'll just talk a little bit about this and then we'll walk down the side of the station via a footpath, over a park and back to where we started. Brigg railway station is on the Grimsby branch of the Sheffield to Lincoln line. The passenger service here is limited, with only 6 trains a week, all on Saturdays. Weekday services have not called here since 1993, when British Rail withdrew them at the end of the summer timetable that year. However, the line is still used regularly for freight transport. With not much more to see at the station, I moved on to Bigby Road, where there's a level crossing. This features a signal box which dates back to 1885. It was originally called Brigg East, but was renamed after Brigg West, closed in 1923. And lastly, we cross this park. This is nothing like the size of Woodbine Park, but it still has all the bits and bobs you'd expect from such a place. This is the Anne Davey Memorial Recreation Ground, named in honour of the late wife of Joshua Davey, an alderman and Justice of the Peace. For today's special section, we're talking about Brigg's Poor Law Union Workhouse, which was located off Wrawby Road, close to Monument Roundabout. It was built in 1835 by William Adams Nicholson, who was also responsible for the workhouse in Lincoln. It could accommodate 200 people, and it had a separate fever ward. Workhouses were not officially abolished until 1930, after which many of them were repurposed for social care and run by local councils. Here in Brigg, Lindsay County Council's Public Assistance Committee took over, and part of it became known as Crosslands Hostel, where Abbey Village is today. Demolition of the former workhouse buildings was carried out in the 1970s, leaving behind just one building, and that's the one I showed you right at the start of this walk. It was an infirmary, built in 1914, which later became Glanford Hospital, perhaps following the inauguration of the National Health Service in 1948. It closed in 1991. And there you go, after crossing the park, we are back on Glanford Road, albeit the other end. And all I've got to do is walk down here to where I parked the car. That's taken me about two and a quarter hours, I think. Not bad for a town of this size. It's got quite a lot, hasn't it? And yeah, I've been quite impressed. All the stuff that I found out about this place. I thought I knew Brigg quite well. Clearly not as well as I thought, but there you go. Time for me to move on to my next one here in North Lincolnshire. There are only 4 to go. These are the Killinghome twins, Haxey and Bottisford. And hopefully the weather will be a bit warmer when I get to the next one. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the town of Brigg, and I'm out.